Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our May webinar with a very special guest. Today, we're going to talk about something very important. We are living in a time when there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of violence going around us in so many different countries, and that's taking a toll on global peace. And today, our topic will focus on peace and security, which is one of the most important areas for us to work on. And to do that, we have welcomed a very young, dynamic change maker who's going to educate us on peace and security. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I would like to cover some housekeeping points. Please keep yourself on mute because that disrupts our conversation. If you have questions for the speaker, you will have time at the end to ask him. Please post your questions in the chat section so that we can have a look and ask our guest speaker, sort of provide your questions to him and he has a chance to answer them. And that's pretty much it. Let's stay with us. Let's enjoy our discussion today. So, without further delay, I welcome Christopher Enu. Welcome, Christopher. Welcome to our May webinar. We are very glad to have you. I'm going to say a little bit about your background. Christopher Enu is a Ghanaian Peace Advocate, an Educationist and Youth Activist. He is currently the country representative of Commonwealth Youth Peace Ambassadors Network in Ghana, a teacher with Ghana Education Service, a member of UNESCO Global Youth Community, and a member of the World Federation Against Drugs. He has served in the past as the Deputy Country Coordinator for Global Youth Parliament. He has 6 years of experience in conflict management and conflict mediation. He was a nominee for the Commonwealth Youth Awards in 2023. So as you can see, he has a wealth of experiences and he is working in so many different sectors. And we're going to learn more about his work, his inspiration, and all that. So welcome, Christopher. Welcome to our platform.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here as well.
So, Christopher, you're working in so many critical areas. All of these are important. We would like to know more about yourself and what inspired you to explore this area of work.
So, just as you may have said earlier, my name is Christopher Enu, and I'm the country representative for Commonwealth Youth Peace Ambassadors Network. That is a network of young people who advocate for peace and the sustainable development goals in all the 56 Commonwealth countries. And I happen to have been appointed in 2023 and still serving. I've done a lot of peace building initiatives. And in all of this, what really inspired me to go on that train is my passion for justice, youth empowerment, and inclusive societies. That is what really inspired me. I am really a person that would always want to see children and women happy. So it is that fire in me that has ignited me to go on this journey of peace building. And that is what has carried me all through.
So, I mean, justice is so important. I totally agree with you on that, Christopher. You're so young. As a youth, how do you view the role of youth in attaining global peace and security?
First of all, I would say that it is critical at the point that the world finds itself that young people take the center stage when it comes to all other sectors, not only peace, all other areas that relates to the sustainable development goals. Young people must not sit on the fence, but rise up to the challenge and be counted. I would say that one of the ways young people can also be counted is that they should be agents of change. Young people bring fresh perspectives, fresh ideas, energy into peace building. So they are ones that often lead grassroots movements, the promotion of inclusion and tolerance in their communities. So they should be agents of change in their local communities, most especially, and try to reach other people with the message of tolerance, with the message of social inclusion, with the message of unity. And there, they can also stand up and be counted as well. The next thing is that young people must be policy influencers. Policy influencers. Youth can advocate for inclusive policies that reflect the need of the marginalized groups because they are young and they really understand the needs of those who are also going through similar situations that needs the help of powers be it to also come in. So they are the ones that can promote equity and justice in their local communities, most especially. And they are the ones that can also bring on board policies and other suggestions that might help other young people in their local communities as well to be able to have a community that is very, very peaceful. So they have the potential to be policy influencers. I wouldn't, and I'll go on and say that they also have the potential to be role models and leaders. Why am I saying this? Because every empowered youth, when equipped together with others, have the path to choose peace. And when they lead by example in the peace processes, thereby creating a ripple effect of change in their local communities by leading from the front and saying that our community deserves to enjoy peace. Our community deserves an environment that is very united. We should all come together and make sure that our community sees development. It is there and there that all the others that are those that are old, way older above them would also heed to the clarion call and join in that regard and make sure that the local communities are peaceful. And by a larger extent, the global world is also peaceful. So they can be role models and leaders of peace in their communities as well.
Absolutely. I think you have covered or you have answered what I'm going to ask you now, but I'm going to ask you anyway. The world is a mess right now. It's in a crisis, There's so many conflicts going on. There is famine, there's that. What do you think the role youth can take in resolving conflicts?
So there should be promoters of dialogue and understanding. Youth can foster intercultural and intergenerational conversations that reduce tension and build mutual respect. In a lot of countries, this is what is expected of young people globally. Young people should be at the center stage. They should not be the reasons why countries, their local communities are plunged into violence. They should be the one that promotes dialogue. They should be at the center stage where they can be able to give room to all other parties that are involved in the conflict to hear them out and be that figure that stands in to bring both sides together and let them drink the peace pipe. So they shouldn't be the one that would perpetuate violence or cause conflict. They should be promoters of dialogue and understanding. The next thing I would say is that young people should be volunteers in crisis zone, most especially when there is crisis, when there is violence, when there is conflict. You see a lot of people volunteering are people that are not in their youthful age, they are way older. Youth can also support humanitarian efforts. They can offer peer-to-peer counseling, especially to their colleagues who are also young people, because in that age and in that bracket, they understand perfectly well what might be the problems other young people in that circumstance are going through better than those who are way older than them. So they can rebuild trust in post-conflict communities as well. So in crisis zone, young people must be the one leading the charge, making sure that the conflict is brought to a halt, and also they lead the rebuilding process when it comes to post-conflict stage, to make sure that there are communities that are affected by crisis, by violence, are peaceful once again. The last thing I would want to talk about is that they should use digital tools for peace. It is expected that in this age and time that we are, young people, we use social media a lot. How can we leverage on social media and other digital tools to make sure that we are sending across messages that bring people together, messages that tell people the essence of peace, messages that tell people the essence of social inclusion, and not only spreading about words that do not bring people together but rather divide people. Now it is a trend that mostly people write words on social media that are untrue, words that are against a certain bracket or a certain group of people. That is what we call the hate speech. And young people, just as we have the right use of social media, the right use of digital tools, so is it very, very detrimental if not used the right way. So it is important that young people use digital tools for peace rather than perpetuating or spreading across hate speech or information that are not true. So they can also use the platform of social media to also counter misinformation. So these are some of the things that young people can do to make sure that the world is peaceful.
Thank you for that. And I mean, I couldn't agree more with you. You have mentioned some of the many important things here. Namely, youth can be policy influencers. They can engage in intergenerational dialogue. They can highlight the importance of inclusion, and all these are exactly what we need. You also mentioned something about volunteering and the fact that you don't see enough youth represented. Um, if I were to ask you, what can governments, international agencies, organizations, civil society organizations do to support youth in their peace and security efforts, what would you say?
I would say that governments, other civil society organizations should, as a matter of importance, provide training, mentorships, and they should equip young people with skills when it comes to conflict resolution, mediation, and peace building. One thing I've realized is that a lot of young people would want to venture into this field, but they do not know where to start from.
Mm.
So government and other civil society organizations must make it a point that they will provide training, mentorship to equip this youth who are interested in this field to be able to build upon their capacity and be able to become useful in this field. I would also say young people must be involved in decision making a lot. Government must involve young people a lot in decision making. Sometimes it's very, very painful that you see that decisions that borders on the well-being of young people being taken, and there is not a single input from any young person in the decision-making process, and it is not the best. If we want them to get involved, we have to make sure that we give them a seat at the table. We have to involve them in the decision-making processes and ensure that their voices shape policies, and the input they bring are ones that are providing practicable solutions to the problems that affect communities. So that is what governments and other civil societies can do. I would also say that they have to support youth-led initiatives with financial resources to scale the impact of young people in the peace building field. One of the things that is a challenge for a lot of young people in this field currently is that nobody is stretching a helping hand or giving any financial resource to support. I used to tell a lot of young people who wish to be like me, some who have reached out, that in this field, There is a lot you can do with partnership other than waiting for people to rather open their doors to provide financial resources. You yourself, you have to make sure that you let other local organizations, community-based organizations, other NGOs, affiliates, any other group that you think might be interested in what you do. What you do is that you sell your idea to them, and based on the idea, you make them feel a part and parcel of the whole idea and the impact it can have. And through that, if they buy your idea, they would also stretch a helping hand and partner you in that form. Finance is a very, very huge challenge when it comes to youth-led initiatives, especially in the peace building field. So government and other civil society organizations must make it a point to provide financial resources for young people who are in this field to be able to thrive. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, excuse me, I think that's also one of the reasons why we don't see youth as volunteers or in many places, because the expectation from them is for them to be everywhere, join so many events, seminars, do work, but there's no remuneration. A lot of the times, the youth do their work for free. That has been the trend from my personal experience. So it makes it very difficult for them to sort of continue or sustain their work in the long run. Um, you've already covered this a little bit, but I will ask you, so what are the specific roles young people can play in peace building, conflict prevention, and security?
Thank you very much. So some of the roles youth can play is that they can serve as peace educators. They can teach their peers and communities about tolerance, non-violence, the effect of violence on their communities, and conflict resolution as well. It is important that the young people speak to their peers, speak to their communities about the essence of violence. Up here in Ghana, I used to tell other young people as well that peace begins with you and I. You play your part, I play my part. And in that regard, we have a peaceful community or peaceful
Yes.
world. One of the people that the elderly listen to very much when they talk to is young people. So young people must teach their peers, their colleagues, their friends, and in the communities by extension about the importance of tolerance, the importance of nonviolence, and conflict resolution as well. All these processes, make sure that they get themselves involved in it. It is very, very important that they serve as peace ambassadors, not only in their homes, in their churches, in their mosques, and every other place that young people find themselves. They have to be peace educators. The other thing I would also talk about is young people have to be advocates for justice. Youth can speak out or should always be in a position to speak out without fear, without intimidation about injustices going on in their communities. They should promote human rights and influence for a peaceful and just society. People are solitude. I'm saying solitude because where young people cannot freely speak, it is not democratized. Is a society or is a community that a lot of injustices occur. The young people have to rise up and be the ones that advocate for all of these things to be done. They should speak out when they realize there is any injustice happening in their local communities, in their countries, in their continent, and in the global society. They should be the ones that promote human rights, right? And they should also be the one that influence policies a lot for a peaceful society, because most of the times the laws, the policies that are promulgated, at the end of the day, it affects a lot more young people more than any other age group. So it is important that the youth do not keep quiet, but speak to some of these problems that arise in the society. The next is that youth can be digital peace builders. As I said earlier, youth can leverage or use technology or social media to counter hate speech, misinformation, and promote unity. So this is what I can say that young people can also do to make sure that they're also promoting peace in their societies.
And what would you say can be done to ensure that youth-led initiatives for a culture of peace receive the kind of attention, the support, and the funding that they deserve?
Thank you very much. I'll say that there should be dedicated grant schemes that are created to make sure that it is solely and specifically supporting youth-led peace-building initiatives. It is very, very much important. Now, if you are looking for grants, if you are looking for resources when it comes to finance to be able to help you undertake peace-building initiatives as a young person, it is very, very important. So if they want young people to get involved, there must be dedicated grant schemes that are created specifically or solely to help young people undertake peace building initiatives. I would also say that we have to strengthen partnerships and visibility. A lot of young people are doing a lot of nice and a lot of impactful work, but there is nobody to make sure that those actions, those impact that has been made by these young people are brought up for others to see, are visible for others to see. So I would say that we must strive to make sure that we promote collaboration between young groups and the media to make sure that some of these success stories are brought to light, and to also make sure that the support these young people need are also readily available for them to be able to impact on a lot of peace building initiatives in that regard.
Absolutely. Um, so what advice would you give to young people who would like to become more involved in projects, maybe, get into partnerships, projects that are related to social inclusion and youth civic engagement, across the continent and even beyond? What would be your advice for them?
So I would tell them that they should first of all start by learning about their community needs. And they should also try very much to build upon their skills in communication and in leadership. They should also join local groups or online networks to connect with other like-minded young people is very, very much important, because that is where I have been able to learn a lot from other young change makers that are making impact in different continents. And they've also learned a lot from me. And by that exchange, that is when together we are able to make a much bigger impact on our communities. I would also say that they should stay persistent and they should be very open to collaboration. This is very, very important. If you are a young person, no matter the project you are doing, be open to collaboration so that other hands can make sure that your impact is scaled. And they should use their voice to advocate for inclusion and positive change. That is what I would tell them.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sure young people will find all your suggestions very helpful. And these are very timely, very effective advice as well. So we have already talked a little bit about how can young people get engaged in peace conversations. I'm sure you would, agree with me that it is a little difficult for young people from low and middle income countries, that we collectively commonly call the Global South, to get involved, um, because of the circumstances. So, what would be your advice, or would you say anything in addition to what you have already covered? How can young people from these countries be engaged in peace conversations?
Okay, so I would also say that there should be a lot of local peace forums organized to make sure that community-based discussion that include youth voices are being really taken into consideration. A lot more young people from the global south are not given this kind of room, this kind of floor to make sure that their voices are also heard. So a lot of local peace forums should be organized in making sure that they are giving youth from the global south an opportunity to also air their views when it comes to discussions that borders on the well-being of youth, particularly about peace building. And there should be a lot of youth leadership programs rolled out to develop mentorship and capacity building initiatives that empower youth who are in this part of the world to make sure that they are empowered to be youth advocates. So that is what I would say about this youth in the global south. Very, very important that um, we roll out leadership programs that is mainly targeted at empowering youth in this part of the globe to make sure that they are also impacting other people and also changing the stethoscope as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Um, so what challenges, and you can talk about your own personal ones, or if you have seen someone facing challenges. What I wanted to ask is, what challenges have you encountered or have you seen people encounter when advocating for youth voices to be included in the peace process? And how can governments and organizations better support these kind of efforts?
Thank you very much. It's not easy as a young peace builder, especially for someone like me growing up in Ghana and with determination. I'm trying to chart a path such as this. There is a lot of hurdles, there is a lot of difficulties, there is a lot of challenges that stands in the way of the work we do. But as a young person, one of the things that has been my guiding principle is that we should always strive to leave a footprint in the sand of time as a young person. So I would say that it is about time that we are given access to decision makers, especially as young people who have chosen this path. It is sometimes very, very sad as a young person when you would want to get the access to a policymaker and speak to him or her about some problems, some solutions you have about certain problems that you think those policymakers can take on board to make sure that some of the challenges that certain community face are curtailed. And you will try your very best to make sure that you reach them, and there is no way, there is no access. So limited access to decision makers is one of the challenges that young people in this field are facing that I believe should be stopped. It should be stopped and it should be made open. Young people must have a seat at the table, that their voices must be heard at all times, not at certain times, at all times. Governments, most especially in some European countries, I know a lot of them do have that. Youth advisory councils, some is youth advisory boards, that young people's opinions about a lot of key decisions are taken into consideration before they are passed. But in our part of the world, it is very, very difficult in that extent. We have a national organization or entity that is in charge of youth affairs, the National Peace Council here in Ghana. But you would have to ask yourself, on the cabinet, that is where a lot of the major decisions are taken. Do we have a youth representative in there that is standing in for young people in making sure that our voices at that critical table is heard, our input on social issues at that critical function is being taken into consideration or not? We do not have anybody like that. And it tends to be in position, and that does not order well. because a lot of these policies, a lot of these laws that are promulgated, that are passed, and it comes out, it affects young people than any other age group or any other persons. So it is very, very sad if the input of young people are not taken into consideration and things are allowed to roll. So government, as a matter of urgency, anywhere across the globe, must make sure that they create a youth advisory council, making sure that they are giving youth a seat at the table, making sure that their voices are heard. Just as I made mention of in other questions, I would also say one of the challenges has been funding. Youth initiatives face a lot of challenges when it comes to funding. So there should be more dedicated funding and grants that are specifically tailored to make sure that youth-led initiatives, peace-building initiatives are supported in this regard, and in making sure that we are able to scale our peace-building efforts as well. It is very, very important.
Absolutely. And in my experience, I have not seen youth being involved in the critical decision-making process, be it political decision-making or policy making, whatever it is. I haven't seen a perfect system where young people have been involved in every stage. So you are absolutely right. They have to be involved because it impacts them the most. Now, the kind of time that we are passing globally, there are a lot of regimes that are abusive in nature. In your view, how can abusive governments and armed groups be stopped?
Thank you very much. And this is very, very much a complex situation that the world is going through. I'm keenly following what is happening in Ukraine currently, and it's just disturbing at the moment. Very, very disturbing. And one of the things that I'm learning is how the European Union have, as a matter of importance, all come together in making sure that they bring that particular conflict to an end. And you would see very clearly that one of the weapons that they are using to make sure that they losing the grips of Russia has been international sanctions. Mostly when it comes to trade and other things, there is a lot of sanctions on Russia in making sure that they are able to use that particular channel to enforce some of the sanctions and make sure that Russia leaves the war scene and brokers peace with Ukraine. So one of the things that can be done is that we should enforce targeted sanctions on governments that are arbitrary. What is happening in Ukraine is a typical example. So we have to enforce targeted sanctions. And if it is economic, make sure that we cut economic ties with governments that are very arbitrary, that are very dictated, and doesn't make sure those living in their countries know peace. We have to make sure that we are enforcing sanctions on them, losing their grips to make sure that they are smoking the peace pipe with their neighbors as well. And the next thing is that we should hold leaders accountable through international courts. Some time ago, some countries that went through a lot of turbulence, a lot of disturbances, overthrew. Some of their leaders were summoned to the International Criminal Court in The Hague. And these are some of the ways we can use to make sure that we hold some of these leaders accountable for some of these injustices they do in some of these countries. It is very, very important that we use the medium of international sanctions and the courts as well to make sure that they are getting things right. The next thing is that we should support local peace builders. We should support local peace builders. If we are able to support them, arbitrary governments and other military regimes that do not help the peace of communities and countries, the activities are also brought to an end. We have to empower local peace builders and civil society organizations to resist violence and make sure that they're also scaling up their effort by promoting peace as well. If we are able to support local peace builders, they will be also then speak up when they identify any injustice happening in their communities, in their countries, when they identify any corrupt practices or any other thing that could bring the peace of their country or their communities into disrepute. They could bring all those to the attention of the global world and in turn promote peace as well.
Absolutely. Um, so we have, covered so many aspects, albeit in a very short time. If we were to summarize everything we have discussed, what are your top three recommendations to young people who are working towards global peace and security?
So what I would say to young people who are working in this particular field is that they should educate themselves and stay informed.
Mm.
They should understand local and global policy issues or peace issues and build knowledge in conflict resolution, diplomacy, and human rights. One of the things that is also very, very important that I have to tell young people in this field is that they should start local, but they should think global. They should start local, but think global. The reason for this is that young people should lead peace building initiatives in their community, whilst connecting them also to a broader global movement for a lasting change. They should lead peace building initiatives in their communities, and they should also be looking at connecting themselves to a broader global movement. And that is one thing that I have been able to do very, very well, that other young people that are also learning from me, I'm trying to pass on that knowledge to, because I started this journey at the bottom. Because most of the things we talk about, most of the violence, most of the conflicts, they happen at the bottom. But it's very sad that at times you see that policymakers would want to solve the problem from the top to the down, rather from the bottom to the top.
Yes.
Most of these problems have root causes. So if you are dealing with them, you have to deal with them at the root. The causative agents of some of all these things is what you must deal with, and not sit up there and bring changes or talk about interventions that might solve the situation. So young peace builders must start local and think global. Last, I would say that they should use their voice and platform. Young people must begin to use their voice and platform. Young people have a voice. Today, if I'm a young person here and you do not know, I'm telling you that you have a voice that is so loud, a voice that is so vicious, a voice that is very, very descending, that it can reach every corner of the world. So you should advocate through social media and use community engagement to raise awareness and inspire actions of not only you but other young people as well. You should make sure that you are using social media. So for me, like this, I tell a lot of young people that social media is a good tool, but can also be a bad master if you don't use it the right way.
Yes.
There are a lot of advantages in using social media. So we must conscientize ourselves as young people that we will start using our voice and the platform that we have to make sure that we are raising awareness on some of these issues that brings about conflict, and making sure that we are using that same platform to advocate for peace, unity, and social cohesion. Thank you.
So, thank you for your responses, Christopher. Before I move on to our last question that we had for you, we have received some questions from our audience today. The first question is from Mish. Mish asked, "What is the most important advocacy tip that you would give to a young activist looking to get involved in peace talks?
So one of the tips that I'll give to any local peace builder is that he or she must start with community engagement. You must start with community engagement. Most of the problems that escalate start from our local communities. So first of all, if you're a peace builder and you identify a challenge in your community, what is it that you can do to make sure that on your own accord, you are making sure that you are contributing to peace processes in your local community? So you should involve yourself a lot. You engage your community a lot. All other actors that brings about some of this conflict, you are making sure that you are touching base with them and speaking to them about the need for peace and the need for social cohesion.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question, which is from, I think it is from one of us from our Global Activist Networks Committee, probably from Taiwo. He asked, as we discuss the role of youth in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, how do we address the issue of value erosion, where many young people choose the fast financial benefits of social media, content creation on TikTok, etc., over building expertise in fields like STEM, which are critical to solving societal challenges?
Thank you very much. I believe we all have a duty not to only those young people involved in those acts. We all have a duty to educate them as well and conscientize them that there is a need for them to prioritize some of these areas and make sure that the opportunity they have in using social media is one that brings positive influence and not one that brings only financial gains. So it is a duty on all of that, on all of us. It's incumbent on us to make sure that we are educating some of these ones. Maybe or not, they might be ignorant. So we all have a duty to educate them, conscientize them on the need for the proper use of social media. And I'm sure that all of them would stay in line.
And we all have a role to play, not just young people. We all can contribute to that. Moving on, we have a question from a member of our audience. Um, Her name is Lila Wang. Lila asked, "Hi, Christopher. My name is Lila from China. The question is about young leadership. I'm currently launching an initiative about jobs for women in Makuyu. I volunteered there for a couple of weeks and captured some underlying or superficial issue like single mother issue, and that's when I decided to launch an initiative for them. The proposal is about establishing an organic farm to provide them with jobs. But I'm a university student now, and most of the operational money will be based on fundraising. I'm currently engaged in outreach to other organizations and foundations. However, I often worry that they may not be interested in my efforts. Why would they choose to donate and fund what might be considered an unrealistic dream for young people? I'm wondering what you will say to it. Thank you."
Thank you very much. I would say that it's a very good initiative, and it all begins by having an idea as a young person. And if you have an idea and you scale it, make sure that your proposal that you send to all these organizations or institutions are one that have a global or a ripple effect. Let's make sure that it is one that can really impact lives and not only the financial aspect of it. It's one of the things a lot of these organizations look out for. Is it a project that will impact a lot of lives, or is it one that is tending to provide only financial basis or gains? So let's look at that as a young person. And if you send that project or proposal to let's say 3 organizations and you don't receive a good feedback, I would advise that you don't stop. One of the things that have really helped me in this journey is perseverance, because you go to some, you sell your ideas, some will buy into it, some will not. But such shouldn't demoralize you as a young person. You have to be very tough and see yourself that there is a lot more you can give and you are not stopping, and that you continue in that regard. And I'm sure to get to a point, someone or some organization might get hold of the proposal and might buy into it and might want to scale it up for you. So that is what I would say.
Absolutely. And I think it's not only sort of a small initiative, irrespective whether it's small or big, everyone faces this kind of challenges. It's very common. So as you rightly pointed out, Christopher, that the key is to persevere and keep trying. And also I would add that consider many different ways it can work out, or the financial aspects can be taken care of. And maybe through partnerships, like you suggested in today's session. So I will move on to the last question from our audience. This is from Gertrude, who is the co-founder of the Global Activist Network, and she's also from Ghana. So Gertrude asked you, what has been your experience so far working as a peace advocate in Ghana? Can you share progress and challenges?
So I would say that one of the main challenge. Let me start with the challenges, then I'll come to the progress. One of the main challenges I have come across in this particular journey here in Ghana has got to do with finance. That is the major one, because in Ghana here, getting some of these grants and opportunities, most especially as a young peace builder, to be able to launch some of these initiatives, have been very, very tough. That's why in my earlier submission, I made mention of that as a young person, you must stand up and be counted rather than sitting on the fence. I realize that a lot of young people are seated unconcerned and they are not putting in much effort, because most at times the effort they put into some of these things in trying to make sure that they get helping hand to support them embark on such initiatives, they don't get anybody to help, and it's really, really a big problem. So one of the things that has really worked for me as a young person is through these partnerships and collaboration. And sometimes too, you would have to identify specifically organizations, embassies. Me, I use embassies a lot and High Commission. I am very lucky to be working with the Commonwealth Secretariat through the Commonwealth Youth Peace Ambassadors Network. And by extension, a lot of these high commissions are in Ghana. So when I write this request to pay a courtesy call on them, I go with my proposal as well. I try to sell my idea to them. And it's been wonderful. Most of them have bought into my idea. And I've done a lot of projects with a lot of these high commissions as well. So funding has been a very, very huge challenge. Even on my end, there are lots of projects that I would want to do currently, but it's still a funding challenge. And we are looking at ways and means that we can maneuver. Finance is a challenge, but it is not something that can stop us as young people making an impact in the lives of other people. So in this peace journey, it is you persevering and trying to make sure that you are identifying key partners that can make sure that your initiatives or your projects are done. So that is what I have been doing. Some of the opportunities is that there are a lot of doors that has opened for me as a result of this journey as a young peace builder. You are able to make your voices heard in certain regard. I'm not saying that all in certain regards or in certain instances. For example, I have been in close contact with the National Peace Council here in Ghana. And in the last election, that is last year, 2024, as part of the Commonwealth Observer Mission, I was able to also observe some of the things that were happening across the various polling centers across the country. And a lot of peace building conferences and things I've been able to attend by the opportunity that the council has given me, together with other organizations and high commissions that I have that relationship with. So these are some of the opportunities that arise. And I would say that it is true that opportunities that I have gotten, a lot more people have also benefited from a lot of my initiatives that I have rolled out in Ghana here. Because last year I rolled out a policy or a project that I funded by the park that is aimed at using the avenue of peace to solve some basic educational needs of young people. We did a research in some of the local communities, and we realized one of the reasons why the boy child or girl child is not in school is because their parents are not in the capacity to provide some basic educational materials like books, pen, and pencils. And so doing, they prefer to send their boy child and girl child to the farm. And it's a very big challenge, because it is through that same trend that we have a lot of social vices in our communities, because they are not educated, they don't have any proper job doing that earns them an income. So they will resort to doing these social vices to make sure that they are also able to feed themselves. So if we call ourselves as peace builder, what are some of the things we can do to make sure that we are solving the root cause of some of these problems in our communities? And that is how come I rolled out this project, to make sure that we are getting our girl child and boy child to school, providing this basic social and educational material, and also very importantly, conscientizing the various educational actors, that is the parents, the teachers, the community leaders, and other people who are very, very vital when it comes to the educational sector and value chain, to make sure that they know the essence of education for the boy child and girl child, and the results that it could bring negatively if their boy child or girl child is not in school. And it was also an opportunity to also tell them about the need for unity and social cohesion and togetherness as well. So that is what I've been able to do, some of the opportunities and a whole lot. So peace building is a very good field. It is one that I would advise any young person to get in or herself involved in. It is not just what you would get as a young person now, but the impact you'll be able to make in the lives of other people as well. For me, that is gratifying. That is what really pushes me to do what I do, because I want to leave a footprint as a young person in the sand of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. It has been such a good discussion with you today. Discussing peace and security and some of the golden nuggets of your response. I would like to take the time to highlight that you're absolutely right. Everyone has financial challenges, but that shouldn't deter us from persevering. That is the number one advice for everyone, every age, trying to do something. You talked about building relationships, which, once again, in my personal experience, has helped me immensely as well. Um, you have talked about social cohesion. Once again, this is so important and needed. And also the fact that making a business case, like you said, to try to explain and make people understand, if this is not done, what will be the impact and how everyone will get affected if this work is not done. We have another question from Gertrude from you. Gertrude asks, you mentioned partnerships a lot in your submissions. Can you tell us about a successful partnership you have formed and how it came about and the outcome?
Okay, so There are lots, but one that I could remember very well. I would use the case study of the body park as an example. So this is um, an embassy that is not a Commonwealth member, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE embassy in Ghana. So I have read a lot about UAE, and I know that when it comes to child rights, it is one of the countries that upholds child rights a lot. We are also looking at rolling out a project that is really child-centered.
Mm.
So what is the embassy that we can go to with the kind of project that we have that they can accept us? They
Mm.
can really buy to our proposal and say, we want to own this proposal and make sure that we are impacting life together with you. So I wrote to the UAE embassy in Ghana, and it didn't take long. A few days time, they returned back and agreed to meet us in person. So we went to their embassy and we had fruitful discussions. And I made sure that I sought their buy-in in our proposal as well. We had written on our own, but it's important that we hear their views as well in making sure that we are aligning with what the embassy want to do as well. So I showed our project to them. They also gave us their input, and together we got a very solid blueprint to implement. And through that, it becomes very, very easy because they not only want to own the blueprints that we have, but they are also helping us scale the impact that we want to make. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. And I would say that it's all start by identifying, first of all, the kind of partner that you would want to engage with. It is key. Most of us, we identify wrong partners and we are not able to scale up what we want to do. In this case, one of the things that came to my mind is that our project is solely a child-centered project. What is the one embassy that we can go to that can really adopt our blueprints or have a buy-in that can really, really help in what we do? And I find out that UAE is one of the countries that is really doing that perfectly. So that is why I wrote to them. And the effect has been massive. A year on after we rolled out that project, I was there a few months ago, and the district education office is saying that as a result of our project, they have seen a 65% increase in enrollment as a result of the project that we did. And I think that is a step in the right direction, and we are seeing
Absolutely.
the. And not only that, because this boy child and girl child were not in the classroom, I am very much concerned, most especially with the girl child, because they were not in school. Most of these young girls gallivanting are walking around in their communities and end up being teenagers who are pregnant. So it is also cutting that particular effect that might have come out from those acts also down. So we are in effect solving a lot of problems indirectly than we could ever imagine or think about. So it is very, very key. We are looking at doing a lot more together with the UAE embassy, and not only them, with the Ukraine embassy in Ghana as well. They have also been immense and massive for us. So for me, identifying the right partners for the project you want to do as a young person is key. For me, it is very, very important.
Yes.
Most of it, you want to do a project that is centered on women empowerment. Then you are sending the proposal to maybe an embassy or an organization that does not really have that kind of affection for women. And so you have to identify the right partner to help you in your journey or in your impact line. So that is what I've been able to do, and it has really, really helped me very well.
That's incredible. A 65% That's an incredible milestone. And you're absolutely right. We need to understand who we are pitching our ideas to. So that's a very good tip for everyone who's watching your session today. So Christopher, thank you very much. Um, our last question to you, any last words that you would like to share? And if any one of us wanted to get in touch with you, in addition to the GAN team, of course, how do we reach you?
So thank you very much. So I would say this and draw the curtains down on this. I will tell every young person that it is time for us to stand up and be counted. We sat on the fence for so long. The globe, the future is the youth. We must do everything within our capacity to make sure that we are making positive impact in the lives of the world, in the life of our society, and most importantly, in the life of our nations. It rests on our shoulders. The future is youth. So it's either you stand up as a young person and be counted, or you sit on the fence and see your communities and see the nations and see the globe at large go into a lot of difficulties. We can't allow that, because at the end of the day, it is us who will suffer. So we should stand up and be counted. If you want to reach me, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. Facebook is Christopher Enu, LinkedIn is Christopher Enu as well, and Instagram is also Christopher Enu. I will leave my Gmail account also here in case you would want to reach me through that medium as well. So my Gmail account is Enu, GNU, Chris, CHRIS 1 at gmail.com. So it is Enu Chris 1 at gmail.com. That is my email. So if you want to use that medium or through Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, you would also have the opportunity to connect with me there as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. It has been amazing listening to a young change maker who's working on such a critical area of peace and security. We have learned so much. One thing that I didn't mention at the beginning is that we have recorded the session so that people who couldn't join us today to listen to you can listen to our session at a later stage. We will share the session through our social media platforms. Which brings me to mention that please, everyone, support us, follow us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, we are on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we have a podcast there. So please follow us, like us, share our work. If you're working on a very good project, if you want to write about it, if you want to raise awareness of an issue, submit your write-up to us. We do publish blogs. If you come across someone doing amazing work or you yourself are doing amazing work, please self-nominate or nominate someone else doing amazing work like Christopher, and let us grow. Let us grow together. Let us take collective action. And Christopher, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Keep doing the great work that you are doing, and we'll meet. I'm sure that our paths will cross again, and we'll learn much more from you in the future. So good luck, and thank you everyone for joining us today.